Hi everyone, good to see you all again. It's Akia here, and yes, I got a fresh haircut. Loving it. I am here today to show you my newsletter that I created. This one here is for information processing theory. I'm really proud of it. I like it. I like how colorful it is here on the title page, and the white headline pops out. The human brain as computer. Just some notes to start with. As modern technological era gained momentum during the mid-1950s, going into the 60s, psychology shed its focus on behaviorism. Behaviorism was purely observed behavior, but as leaders, scientists, pioneers started to assemble computers, psychology became curious, well, what's going on inside of the brain that's maybe causing the behaviors? This theory emerged stating that the human brain is like a computer as far as we accept sensory data, information, and experiences, and we sense it right then and there. Oftentimes, especially through repetition, it goes into our short-term memory, and eventually through creativity might even extend into our long-term memory. These three areas here, sensory, short-term, and long-term, have to do with memory. Sensory is experienced with our five senses, and in our culture, education, auditory, listening, and then verbal regurgitation of what you heard is the norm for conversation, retaining information. Listening and speaking are dominant in our culture. Again, through repetition, being asked the same questions over and over again in school, at home, we learn to utilize certain behavior choices become automatic. Reciting the ABCs, your numbers, tying your shoes, your address, phone numbers, family members' names. Longer term, we can remember dates and facts and lots of different pieces of information. I'm going to try to go on to page 2 here. I picked this picture just to represent all the information, data stored that we have in our minds. Again, if our minds are like computers, we process a lot of data information in the first 5, 10, 15, 20 years of our lives. There's so much stored. And we categorize it and make sense of it, and then we output it, just like a computer does. The attention span of a gnat. This again, this time in American technology, 1950s and 60s, scientists, social scientists, engineers began to study attention span, especially talking about sensory processing or input. Well, the question was, what if you are receiving input and data from more than one sensory at a time simultaneously. And my article here says that they studied this by whispering different messages into the subject's ear, in their left and right ears, which is interesting. It's pretty cool. We definitely have to make choices and decipher what we pay attention to when. Down here, the data cycle talks more about how our brains are like computers. According to this learning theory, we take information in, we process it, we analyze it, we categorize it for importance, relevancy, significance, familiarity. That might be something that a computer doesn't do. And then we output it with our behavior choices, and again, areas that we focus our attention in. Finally, right here with cognitive psychology, this branch of psychology and learning theory led the way for artificial intelligence and computer simulation. And definitely today we have robotics and Google, Alexa, and AI, and so it was a rigid way to view psychology and the brain. Today with neuroscience, we've learned that there's much more that goes into a human being's decision-making skills than just sensory input. And so this learning theory has been criticized because it doesn't make room for emotions, motivations, personal humanistic desires. Thank you.